This is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching. Today's video is about making cable stitches in knitting. I was ready for a little break from quilting, and so I started working on a baby blanket. This is a cable stitch, and you can see the cables run all the way up, and it is really soft, and it's going to make a beautiful baby blanket. Materials that I used for the baby blanket were size 3 knitting yarn, and it was a baby soft yarn. The knitting needles are a size 8, and I chose to use the 10-inch, and I could actually get my 201 stitches on there. And then you'll need 2 of those, and then you'll need a cable needle, which is the green one at the front, which is about 7 inches. And the other thing, because I did put so many needles on so many stitches on my needle, I went ahead and I used the point protectors, and I'll show you that in just a minute. You might wonder why I decided to use the shorter needle. Well, the only other size 8 I had was a 14-inch needle, and those are really kind of cumbersome to work with. And since this was going to be such a soft baby blanket and the stitches would all go on the other needle, I actually changed back to using the small 10-inch needles. For organization, I have one piece of paper that has there are only 4 rows in this pattern, and I want to keep up with those. And then, to make sure that I was always on the right row for this particular pattern, I made some post-its. There was row 1, row 2, row 3, and row 4. So as I go and finish 1, then I go into 2. And 2 is where the pattern is that sets the 3 rows. And I mean, I could be watching TV, or the phone could ring, or I go out in the kitchen and I forget where I am. And so now I've got myself a double system with my mark card and with my row that's sitting there. Okay, so now I finished row 1. I'm going to go to row 2, and this is the right side. I've got my needle, I've got the pointer end on there. That's to keep my stitches from sliding off. I'm going to remove that and just save it. I've got my cable needle close at hand. And the first thing says to purl, knit, purl. So I'm going to do purl, thread in the front, knit, thread to the back, purl, thread to the front. The next part's going to be knit, so I slid it back. I've got it where I can hold it. I'm going to take my cable needle and I'm going to slide 2 stitches, 1, 2, onto the cable. And these particular stitches you're going to hold to the back right now. And you get pretty good at this after a little while. It's not fast, but you get better at it. And because I want to go down and I want to pick up the next 2 stitches on my real needle. So there's one of them, and it's knitted. And here's the second one. It's knitted. Now you go back and you pick up the one on your cable. And that's nice that the cable needle is smaller because it's easy to hold. Slide one off that you knitted, then knit the next. That's 1/2 of your cable. Now we're going to do the second half of the cable. I'm going to take my cable needle. I'm going to take the 2 stitches again, but instead of going to the back, I'm going to go to the front. Then I'm going to go over to my real needle, my number 8. I'm going to knit 1. I'm going to knit 1. And now we're going to go back to the cable needle. Got it turned. We're going to pick up the first one and knit it, and the second one and knit it, and that's completed. Then to complete it, we're going to go back and we're going to do a purl, thread to the back to knit, thread frontward to purl, and we're ready. Let's do one more with the cable. I'm going to take my cable needle. I'm going to slide the first two off. I'm going to set it towards the back. I'm going to knit two. I'm going to knit the two from the back. You see, once you've done it, and you've done it several times, it gets easy. That's half the cable. Here comes back the cable needle. Pull off two, pull those to the front. Go back to your needle and knit two, and knit two. Slide your cable needle back down, knit, and knit. And this is just the old way that I learned how to knit, and it helps me have a lot of control. And I haven't dropped any stitches, which is what you don't want to do with knitting. You don't want to drop one and have to try and get it back on there. And then I'm ready to do another cable. The baby blanket I'm working on has got 18 rows of cables. So you can see you get plenty of practice with doing the cables, and you can learn where you hold your needles so they're comfortable for you and keep going. And that's sort of short and sweet, but I didn't want to lose the opportunity to share something that I was working on. You need your two number 8 needles and a cable needle. You might want to get pointer protectors because those are good all the time. And here are the actual directions for each row. You cast on your 201 stitches. Row 1, you actually start with a little pattern. You knit 3, purl 8, knit 3, and the purl 8, knit 3 goes all the way across then. Then, like I said, row 2 is your cable pattern. And if you see, I've highlighted when the cable needle goes back and when it goes to the front. Row 3, it's very simple. Row 4, again, you just start with a purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, then start your pattern for across. Knit 8, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1 across. And you keep repeating these rows until you've reached the length that you'd like for your blanket or your project. This is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching. Thank you for watching. Anything I may have forgotten, I will have added in the description and probably put the directions in there also. If this was helpful and you had any fun just watching somebody work, please subscribe and hit like.